She's getting there.
We're
Thanks.
getting up. Nah?
Yes, yes.
No, let's get there. Let's get there. Let's get there. Let's get there.
Sure, sure. Thanks,
Let's
thanks, Jay.
get there. No, thanks very much. Colleagues on the platform, greetings, everyone. We will start just now. You'll indicate, Valerie, when everyone is ready so that we can start. Colleagues, good morning.
Morning, Chair.
Can we start now? Colleagues, as we start, let me take this moment to really say we are meeting today the 31st March 2026, which marks the end of our first term. It has been very, very hectic third term, colleagues, compatriots, from the beginning when we started with our oversight visit to the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and all the up and downs we have done since the start of the year. It has been very, very hectic. I think this is one of the most hectic quarter we had since we arrived in Parliament. And I really want to extend my appreciation to all of you for having stayed tuned, and those who could not be able to make it, continue to give input on the side on how we must move things forward. Those who were caught up somewhere apologizing on time and telling us I may not be able to be available, but these are my views. That is very, very much appreciated, colleagues. Once again, we have trumped over this term without being partisan, approaching the things in the best interest of the people of South Africa, approaching all issues in the best interest of our people without being politically divided, without being partisan, without being taking any other side except the side of our people. And as the chair, I really want to extend my appreciation to all of you for that. I take this moment today as I welcome you on this platform on this hour of 30 minutes after the hour 9, scheduled to until the 30 minutes after the hour 9, to really appreciate all of you and welcome you to this session. Our session today is supposed to be brief. I know majority of you who are still in Cape Town might be traveling to the various destinies for either for pilgrimages or for holidays and so forth. I'm going to try to run this meeting as speedily as it can be possible. The agenda is projected there. One first item is a briefing on the petition from Ms. N Nolutshungu on behalf of the Western Cape Network of Disability, calling for amendment and enforcement of National Land Transport Act 2009, Act number 5, to guarantee equitable, reliable, and accessible public transport service for persons with disability. You know, Ms. Nolutshungu is a member of parliament, and I think at some stage she served with us briefly in this committee. Consideration, number 2, consideration and adoption of report of the petition from the Amadiba community. I think we have done that. Number 3, consideration and adoption of report on the 2025-26 third quarter expenditure of the Department of Transport. We'll run also quickly on that. Consideration and adoption of draft 2026 second term community program. We'll also run quickly on that. I hope colleagues have received these documents before and they've obviously read them. Without much ado, is there a mover to adopt this agenda? Mover 1. Honorable Malmaja.
Chair, thank you very much, Chair. As I greet everybody on the platform and fellow South Africans, it was not deliberately to undermine, it's just I'm struggling to raise my hands as the norm of the meeting. I stand to move for the adoption of this agenda, Chairperson. Thank you so much.
We can work on it. We can work on this agenda. Anyone who second that, we work on this agenda quickly.
I second, Chair. That's Ghana.
Oh, Honorable Ghana, how are you? Thanks very much. How are you, Honorable Ghana?
I say that you have been asked for apologies, so I was going to apologize for myself for being here.
You're going to apologize for?
Apologize for myself.
Okay. Yeah, no. Hey, you are right. Project again. Thanks for that soft guidance and soft reprimand. Colleagues, can I take apologies? I know Valerie has an audio. If you can assist Priscilla, Valerie, if there and Alma, if there are apologies from your side. And honorable members, if there are apologies that you have recorded from your side also.
Chair, on behalf of Valerie, the apologies are from Ms. Kobe, the Minister and the Deputy Minister.
Oh, thanks very much. Honorable members, anyone with the apology? If none, we can proceed. Let's proceed to the next item. What is the next item? Project there. I'm no longer seeing the screen, Alma. Whoever is projecting.
Okay, Chair, while they project, I just wanted to indicate that I will leave the platform at 10:30. I have another pressing matter.
Okay, Honorable Gama. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, my dear brother. Thanks very much. Yeah. You can then be briefed. Over to you, Advocate.
Good morning, honourable colleagues of the Portfolio Committee on Transport.
Chair.
Honourable Boss.
Yes, Chair. My apologies, Chair. No, not to disturb. Because Honorable Nolutshungu is not here, Chair. I don't know, thought you would give us an opportunity to speak on the petition, or we just give it straight to the representatives to speak on it.
Let's speak to the representative, and if there is anything you would want to add, we'll allow you.
Okay, copy, Chair, no problem.
Sure. Honorable Alma, if you can make sure that everything is in order.
Yes, Chair, the presenters will be taking you through the petition there, Chair, and then we can, as you indicated, we'll just get a introduction of the petition by Mr. Blose on behalf of Ms. Nolutshungu.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you very much, Chair. May I proceed?
Yes, yes, Anthony.
Thanks. That's great. Thank you
Gelino,
very
and
much.
welcome to the platform together with the team you are with.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today about something which is really important to people with disabilities in South Africa. So we're going to be sharing the presenting duties. All three presenters are people with disabilities. We have various disabilities, and so we're speaking from our lived experience as well as experience and knowledge gained through the sector. We represent an organization called the Western Cape Network on Disability. I'm the current chair. Notukela and Lily are members of the exec. And the Western Cape Network on Disability is made up of around about 80 organizations of and for people with disabilities. So we are a large representational group, and we look out for the interests of people across the different disability sectors. So it's not just wheelchair users, people who are blind, it is people with any disability, any impairment. And thank you very much for the opportunity to address you today. We can go on to the next slide. All right, so just some introduction and background as to where we are. And the reason, as it says on the slide, is we really want to call on Parliament to relook at the National Land Transport Act. There are, in our opinion, some serious shortcomings which lead to the marginalization and continued marginalization of people with disabilities. So what we're trying to achieve is an equitable transport system that is reliable and accessible to people with disabilities, and perhaps not just for people with disabilities. I think the key is that we want a transport system which is accessible to everyone, irrespective of your level of mobility or your lack of mobility. So that's why we're here today. The next slide. Just background as to how we got to the current situation. And the reality is that people with disabilities continue to be excluded from our public transport system, not just in Cape Town and the Western Cape, but across South Africa. And the impact that this has on our community is significant. We cannot underestimate it. In Cape Town, there is a service called Dial a Ride, which is a dedicated public transport system for people with disabilities, but it is very inadequate. There is a similar system that runs in eThekwini and is also under-resourced and has challenges which it faces. The reality is that it's a door-to-door service, so it is very demanding and heavy on resources, and it remains inaccessible for many of our people with disabilities. It also has criteria which are quite tight and exclude a number of people depending on what their impairment may be. We can go to the next slide, which presents the challenges, the real impact of not having transport. For, it says there, a quarter of the population. We know that around 15% of the population have some sort of disability. And the reality is that without transport, people with disabilities are confined to their homes. We become prisoners in our own environments. That is the sad reality. That's what's our members and constituents have likened it to. So without transport, it doesn't matter what programs are in place to create jobs, to educate our people, to access healthcare. If we cannot get there, all of that becomes irrelevant. And it means and leads to the continued discrimination and marginalization of people with disabilities. So in all honesty, without transport, it is very difficult for people with disabilities to be integrated into our communities and to play a leading role in our lives, to be integrated and just to have a quality of life. And then, of course, we mustn't forget that the lack of an accessible public transport system is in violation of the principles of equity, dignity is infringed upon, and it also goes against what our Constitution speaks to, and importantly, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, of which South Africa is a signatory. So it's not just an inconvenience, there also are legislative matters as well that are impacted on. Our next slide. All right, so some of the accessibility issues. There's definitely a limitation to the dedicated services like Dial-A-Ride that we have in Cape Town and eThekwini. They are very under-resourced and just cannot cope with the demand. In Cape Town, the city of Cape Town have estimated that there could be as many as 31,000 potential users for Dial-A-Ride. So 31,000 people who would like to use the service every day. Currently, they can't even accommodate 300 people per day. So it is a real challenge. Remembering that people with disabilities, a wheelchair user, people with vision impairment, they cannot just hop on the next bus or the next taxi if it's not accessible. Without specialized adapted public transport, we are literally stuck at home. So we are continue to be stuck at home. There's a systemic exclusion which continues to happen as we face these barriers and being excluded from public transport. As I said earlier, it limits our access to all aspects of life, including employment, education, healthcare, social participation, and many, many more. So it's vital that we have an accessible public transport system in place. One of the shortcomings that we've identified in the National Land Transport Act is that accessibility provisions are discretionary. There is no it's not mandatory. So it's up to someone's discretion as to what happens with regards to access. And two examples which I can give, which have occurred in the last 6 months or so. I know that PRASA have bought 98 vehicles, buses, and only 10 of them have accessibility features. Why were all 98 not purchased with accessibility features? In Cape Town, Golden Arrow recently bought 120 buses, and not one of them have accessibility features. So in our opinion, that's unacceptable, and it should be mandatory that new rolling stock is accessible and has the features that will ensure that all people are able to use them. We can go to the next slide, please. So there's also the lack of enforcement mechanisms. So we would really like to see enforcement mechanisms and sanctions in place so that if and when there is a failure to provide accessible public transport services, someone is accountable. There's someone that we can go and speak to and that we can hold responsible. It's also very unfortunate and disturbing to us that there are no requirements for consultation to take place with the sector. In the disability sector, we are very proud of our slogan, which says nothing about us without us. And the sad reality is that as things stand, we can have a public transport system enforced upon us without consultation, either with community groups of people with disabilities or representatives from the organizations that operate in that space. And that's really key. We need that to change. There's also an absence of national standards. So unfortunately, the lack of national minimum standards and funding obligations is also a part of the problem, which ties our hands and ensures that the provinces and municipalities do not deliver as they should. And we're not just focusing on dial-a-ride, we're looking at access of all public transport across the country. But when it comes to something like dial-a-ride, I've already touched on the capacity issues. And the reality is that the service only serves a fraction of the people that are eligible. And by doing so, it actually discriminates against other people with disabilities who aren't able to get access to that service. So while it serves a few people, it actually ends up leading to discrimination and hardship for those that aren't able to access. At that stage, I'm going to leave the presentation in the hands of my colleague, Nolutshungu. Nolutshungu, over to you.
Thanks, Anton. Thanks. Let the colleague come in. Thanks for a solid presentation.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. I've had to quickly stop sharing so that I can unmute myself. I'm going to start sharing again. As my colleague and Chairperson said, my name is Notugela Makotliso. I'm an executive board member of the Western Cape Network on Disabilities. Firstly, I just want to thank this committee. I want to thank you, Chair. I want to thank the members of this committee for this opportunity. We do not take it lightly. I think it would also be remiss of us to not thank the Honorable Chief Whip of EFF, Honorable Nolutshungu, and her party for recognizing this need and for sponsoring this bill amendment. We're grateful. We know we don't just pay lip service to helping the vulnerable in our communities, but actually doing something about it. So in her absence, I just want to say thank you. The proposed amendments in the National Transport Land Act became a reality in my life when I acquired a disability at the age of 32. So if you have been exposed to life without a disability, and then you are faced with the challenges and the limitations that you have when you exist with a disability, it's traumatizing. And so when we are calling for these amendments that we're going to go through, that we need the Act to amend, it's because it's a real need that will give dignity to people's lives. And we can advocate for this from our lived reality, knowing what an important need that it is. So we're quickly going to go through the 12 amendments that we propose. I'm only going to deal with 8, and then my colleague Lily will deal with 3 of them. Let's start with accessibility requirements. It's important for all public transport and all planning authorities and service providers to feature strong accessibility requirements. This law needs to be able to not only ambiguously but explicitly change the language to make it enforceable. So we've suggested a change from Section 10A of the bill, from saying take steps to promote, to something that has more surety, something that we can adhere to and we can enforce, to something like shall ensure the provision of integration of accessible transport, because our language matters. So this act, the amendments that we are proposing, is that it says what it means so that people can do what it means. Speaking of language, we are also proposing that we change the definition of disabilities to be in alignment with the UNCRPD. My colleague Anthony mentioned that South Africa is a signatory of that instrument. So, as part of domesticating that instrument, we need to change the definition of disability, not only in this act, by the way, but throughout our constitution in South Africa, to feature the plethora of all different disabilities. There are so many apparent and unapparent disabilities. Staying with definitions, we also need to clearly define what is universal design and what is reasonable accommodation. These are not just disability rights, they're human rights. And you don't realize it until you acquire a disability, which is something that is possible for anyone at any stage of your life. So we also propose the purpose clause. As part of the amendments, we propose explicitity state that one of our primary purposes is to achieve universal access and full inclusion in the national land transport system for persons with disabilities. The other thing that we deem to be very important is to have advisory bodies enacted in this bill that will advise on policies, on norms, on standards, regulations, and all related accessibility. My colleague mentioned earlier on nothing about us without us. In these days, it's becoming a cliche. It is not a cliche. It is necessary to include persons with disabilities so that we can use our lived experience to inform better norms in our community. Further, we propose the appointment of designated specific accessibility officers to not only oversee accessibility provisions, but to ensure service provision for the sector of persons with disabilities. Which, by the way, doesn't only benefit the sector, it also benefits the elderly. It also benefits other vulnerable people in our community. So we want this law to be specific that there should be accessibility officers. And we shouldn't only see this in the cities, but also in the rural areas as well. Our other proposed amendment for the bill is to make ITPs and provincial frameworks to include standalone, detailed, and costed universal access implementation plans. And these need to be developed in consultation with organizations of persons with disabilities. It's very sad when we think we have a ramp, but as a person in a wheelchair, you cannot take on that ramp. You cannot get on that ramp because it's too steep. Clear indication that there were no persons with disabilities when there was the planning stage, there was the design stage, implementation stage, and therefore we end up with infrastructure that is not practical or functional. So consultation with persons with disabilities is actually prudent financially, because if we do it during these planning stages to implementation, it works out much cheaper, much more cost-effective than doing it as an afterthought. So please consult us. Lastly, before I hand over to my colleague Lily, this is also an amendment that we have proposed to the Department of Small Business Development, that businesses that are providers of these services, we make a requirement of compliance in universal design and accessibility. It must be a compliance that is mandatory. Before a company goes and buys electric buses, they should also by law be mandated to also be universally accessible. And we not only need the transport department to ensure this, we also need business to come on board. Housing, to make housing everything that is built, our infrastructure. We also need the Department of Housing to come on board. But transport, we appeal to you, this is a good start. All service providers for transport, they ought to be mandated by law, punishable by law, failure to do so, that they ought to have universal design and accessible standards as part of the requirements for compliance for them to be able to trade. And this is not a pie-in-the-sky requirement. A lot of developed countries are already doing it. We need to lead Africa into the new dawn. And part of that is also mandating binding regulations on universal designs on all vehicles that are for public transport. 100%, not some, all of them. We must have a funded phase retrofitting plan for existing fleet. And then we must make sure that the human element is sensitized is conscientized. We must teach people how to deal with disability. Disability awareness is a human right. It's something that should be done. Let's appeal to our service providers to do the right thing. Not only physical disabilities, but non-apparent disabilities as well. With that, I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Lily. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a minute. Please bear with me. And I'm going to allow Lily to also, I need to unmute her so that she can continue with the presentation.
Thanks very much, Nokutuleka. Who's coming in now?
My colleague Lily is coming in.
Lily, come in.
I am trying to unmute Lily. If the other host can please assist me. It says ask to unmute, so kindly unmute her on your side as well.
Advocate, can you unmute?
I think I'm unmuted now.
Awesome, Lily. You can go ahead. I'm going to start sharing again.
Okay. Thank you so much, Notigela, and good morning, members of Parliament, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present, to echo everything that Anthony and Notigela have just said. So I will be taking us through the next few slides, and I'll be continuing with the amendments that we propose. We also propose amendments relating to e-hailing services. These amendments would require e-hailing operators to include accessible vehicles in their fleets, as well as to provide in-app functionality to specify accessibility needs. Then we also propose amendments related to infrastructure standards. These amendments would legally bind all spheres of government to a single high-quality national standard for accessible infrastructure, including tactile ground surface indicators, audible and visual signals, ramps, lifts, and obstacle-free sidewalks. Then we propose amendments related to funding. These include establishing a National Land Transport Accessibility Fund to subsidize the costs of accessible vehicles, retrofitting fleets, and recruiting infrastructure. They also include making national land transport grants conditional on progress against universal accessible implementation plans. We also propose amendments relating to monitoring and enforcement. These amendments would require the Minister to table annual reports in Parliament on the state of accessibility in the transport system. They would also introduce clear complaints and redress mechanism for users who experience discrimination or service failures, together with sanctions for non-compliance. So I will briefly discuss the purpose of the NLTA Accessibility Fund. It would essentially be threefold. First, procuring accessible vehicles by supporting the purchase of new public transport vehicles that meet universal design and accessibility standards. Second, retrofitting existing fleets by financing the modification of current vehicle fleets to ensure accessibility with clear deadlines for implementation. And third, upgrading infrastructure by funding improvements to transport infrastructure to meet universal design standards, such as tactile ground surface indicators, as mentioned, auditory and visual signals, ramps, lifts, and obstacle-free sidewalks. So our call to action is to amend the National Land Transport Act to make accessibility requirements mandatory for all public transport planning authorities and service providers. This would establish enforceable national standards for accessible transport, including minimum service levels, funding mechanisms, and performance monitoring. It would also legally require consultation with organizations representing persons with disabilities in transport planning and service design, as mentioned by my colleague Notukela. Finally, we also call for oversight and accountability mechanisms from the Department of Transport and parliamentary committees. And we emphasize that access to transport must be recognized as a human right because it's foundational to equality, employment, and dignity for all South Africans. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I will now hand over to my colleague Anthony to wrap up.
Thanks, Lily, and Dr. Keller. So just our last slide, just in conclusion. The Western Cape Network on Disability, on behalf of our constituents, on behalf of people with disabilities, not only in the Western Cape, but around the country, we call on Parliament to urgently review and amend the NLTA. Really what we're saying is free our innocent, remove the shackles, make transport accessible so that people with disabilities can play a full role in our communities and contribute to society. As I mentioned at the start of the presentation, all three people who presented to you today are people with disabilities. I'm paralyzed from my shoulders down, but with transport, being able to be mobile, we are able to contribute to our country, which is what we want to do. So please remove the shackles that are placed on us by an inaccessible public transport system. And then our vision is we're asking you to ensure that every South African, regardless of disability, irrespective of their level of mobility, are able to access reliable and dignified public transport. And just to reiterate, not just in the metros, not just in large towns, but we need to accommodate people in our rural areas and right across the country, because the reality is that we can talk about including people with disabilities, we can talk about inclusion, we can talk about equitable life, health, whatever it may be, but this cannot happen without mobility. That's our presentation. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And we now invite questions and comments.
Thanks very much, my chief. Honorable Blosser.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Maybe let's also welcome the presentation from our colleagues from the Western Cape Network on Disability. Chair, they've highlighted and gave key aspects on the key issues that they need to address, and we welcome that. And maybe not to be repetitive, Chair, just maybe quickly on our side, since it was Honorable Nolutshungu who brought the petition forward. So we just want to highlight, Chair, that actually it's a long-standing issue, Chair. So it's not something that is coming before Parliament for the first time. In fact, now we view it as an injustice, Chair, that continues to deny millions of our people their dignity. It denies them mobility, and ultimately it's exclusion, from participation in society. So, Chair, this petition for us, we are saying, let it not just be a procedural matter at this point, but it must be a call for action. For far too long, people with disabilities, they have been treated merely as an afterthought, in our transport planning. So we always do policies and we acknowledge the need for accessible transport and inclusion in policy, but really in practice, they are abandoned. Whatever is there might be in policy is never there in practice, and as I previously said, it's a crisis that has been there for quite some time, raised by various stakeholders, but enforcement has not been there. And I think this time around, Chair, we really need to look at the shortcomings within the NLTA and act decisively to have those amendments. So for us, again, Chair, like I said, it's not just a transport issue, it's a constitutional issue, it's an economic issue. It also questions us as members of parliament that do we really believe in equality, or it's just rhetoric for us? So we really need to look at it. And if you look at the petition, Chair, as I appeal also to other members, you will notice that it's very clear and practical. It does not, require miracles. It just calls for certain enforceable standards. It's calling for accountability, because most of these clauses that are within the NLTA seeks to, appear to someone to do them. And if they don't, there's no enforceable mechanism to mitigate against that. So, Chair, as in closing, I'm saying let's just work together and call on the executive and the department to act with agency on these issues, and make sure that the amendments that are required are done, because our people can no longer wait. That was just my emphasis on the issues, Chair. Thank you very much.
Honorable Bossa, thanks very much. Let me really thank you and the colleagues from the Western Cape Disability Network, and thank you and in her absence here, Honorable Nolutshungu, and yourself, Honorable Blosser, and the entire family of your political party, the Economic Freedom Fighters, for even seeing it fit to raise this particular petition on behalf of the people. It's not just for the people of Western Cape, it's for all of us. It's for all of us and for the people of South Africa. And I think you have done a great work. I think we must really appreciate you, because the type of a society that we want to build, the South Africa that we want to build, is a South Africa that, as President will always say, an inclusive society. An inclusive society is an inclusive society in the literal meaning of inclusive. We can't leave anyone behind. And if our transport and network system are not accommodative to the people living with disabilities, then it's a problem that we must really confront. And to the extent that yourself as economic freedom fighters, together with them, you saw it befitting that you must table it here before us so that we can look into how best we can amend laws, is something that we must commend and appreciable. Being a responsible citizen and being a responsible, caring and loving South African means exactly that, to look beyond yourself and think of other people. So I'm going to allow members who want to comment or to ask a question, but we'll know that from there we move straight to the guidance, Alma, on what must happen in terms of the process from now. And then from there, we'll close this particular matter, because we can't exhaust it today. We'll now have to go and follow certain processes for it to be actualized. But it will first have to depend on the views of honorable members who are here, if they want to say something. Honorable members, you're welcome to give inputs.
So, Chair, thanks. Even when you don't recognize us, we'll recognize ourselves.
This is giving you a problem here. I'm trying to get to see the hands. I've seen your hands, Honorable Ghana and Honorable Malmach. In that order, Honorable Ghana, come in, then Honorable Malmach.
Thanks. Let me thank Anthony, Lily, and Noctella for the presentation, and also for continuing on this path to ensure that our, especially public transport, is accessible to all, and it's inclusive. Like when we talk about an inclusive and equal South Africa, it must be equal access to public transport. So I think this is something that we do have to take, because unlike some of the other petitions that we say, the petition that we will deal with now as a report. So this one, it's asking for a change in legislation, which will then requires either ourselves to make a committee amendment or speak with the department to give us an update on this, so that and see whether there is they can bring an executive bill that we can look at, especially on the issues of accessibility and inclusivity, inclusion. I think that's what I want to. But I want to just thank the team for this presentation. It is something that we, even ourselves as Rise Mzansi, fully back. It is critical that we get these amendments, and also start also when we do have conversations, because certain things don't have to wait for amendments. Is to say what are the things that can be done now, and then we start getting those things. Because if we at all times wait for legislative when things can be done, whether with the bus operating networks, I mean, we're going to be looking at the bus rapid system. We're going to be interacting with the taxi industry. So we need to make moves that can be done now, and not just say we will wait for legislation. We should adopt the posture that says, if there are things that can be done now, let's get them done. And then if there are things that needs to wait for legislation, let's wait for that legislation. But let's not delay the full enjoyment of the rights as contained in the Constitution, because the legislation it's not explicit on this need. So let's work to ensure that the changes that can be done are done, Chair, and not only rest on this. So this, what I'm saying to the team, it's the posture that I would like to adopt. It's not one that waits for the amendment of the legislation, but to say what are the things that can be done now, and if there are things that can be done now, let's do them, and not have to wait for the full legislative process. Thanks very much.
Good morning, everybody.
Come in, Honorable Mama. Thanks, Honorable Ghana. Thanks very much. Honorable Ghana.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, colleagues, presenters, petitioners, South Africa at large. This is one of a very progressive move that I think it just needs support across. Honorable Ghana, you little bit came to where I was to say the second batch of Golden Arrow buses. It will require us as a committee to check with the department how best can they ensure that that thing is adhered to. You will recall that these Golden Arrow buses that are taking people as far Langa, Khayelitsha, and the surroundings. And you have listened to the presentation and how they are left outside just to go and arrive in the city where they want to participate and enjoy life like any other person. So these other things, if we check in human settlement, nowadays, all the houses that are built now, they are coming with the ramp to allow that. Now the question, why it is not done throughout? So this is a calling to say the department and the portfolio committee, if it is happening there, why can't it happen? And we are saying here as the portfolio committee that we have no any reason why it must not happen. We are fully behind it because it's practical and workable, regardless of politics. It just needs to assist this sector, and the sector that is very proud of us because they are following the right channels. Therefore, we remain a bridge for them to achieve this, so that at the end of the day, we seem to be a caring nation, caring government. The only question that I want the presenter clarifying is when they were dealing with the issue of changing the name disability. If through you, Chair, they can narrate much on that so we get. Other than that, Chair, I think I'm joining you with your remarks when you were really showing the importance of this and how we normally support and other two colleagues were very, very simple, as we're supposed to, especially when we deal with the petitions which are given. It's for us just to implement. Get other sister departments that are involved and other legislative sectors to ensure that we finish this as early as possible. Because this one, we just need to open the door and check where's the key. If the key is lost, get the key open and this thing being implemented. But of course, they will understand that normally it takes long. But with us having this energy, I think it can work, because indeed people want to enjoy visiting wherever they are. You know, it was very touching when one speaker, the presenter, was saying, after 32 years I was doing this, the speaker got the experience of not being disabled and now being disabled. So this is the voice of reason to say we can still enjoy this if this thing is permissible in this way. And it is forced to nearly every service provider to understand that it's not only this type of people, there's also this type of people that must come in. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thanks very much, Honorable Malmaja. I didn't cut your last point. What did you say on the last point?
I think it was on the question of changing the name disabilities. It's what I just needed clarity from them.
Oh. Colleagues, if you can come in.
Sorry, I'm battling to raise my hand.
Or now that you are battling, you are welcome, Honorable Kubeka. You can come in.
Okay, greetings, Chair, and greetings to the House. Greetings to our special guests today. Chair, we in the Portfolio Committee of Transport, I think it seems like we are unanimous in saying we need to support these issues that have been brought before us today. Chair, we support this, and if I'm to be correct, this is not the first time that issues like this have been brought to Parliament by not necessarily this entity, but by other entities that represent people who are disabled. Chair, we need to help where we can. We are in support of all of the amendments and all of the issues that they are raising. Can we assist where we can? Can we push as quickly as possible to help them where we can help them to get access to basically South Africa as a whole? Because with the buses that are coming, can we actually make an actual effort to try and get those buses to be fitted with the necessary equipment to enable people with disabilities to be able to hop in and out of those buses? Can we help them everywhere else, not necessarily on only the buses, where we can? We are the Portfolio Committee of Transport, and we need to get this thing done. It is our responsibility. This is why we are here in Parliament as legislators, to help South Africans. Now, the disability agency or the disability community cannot be left behind. Let's just emphasize, Chair, on the implementation of the Act, and we must make sure that the department on our end enforces all of these recommendations. With that, Chair, I thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kubeka. Can I allow respondents to clarify some few issues that have been asked, and then I'll give a way forward on what must happen?
Chair, we just have one more hand from Dr. Hansinger.
Oh, thanks very much. I don't see hands here. I don't know what's happened to my gadget. Dr. Hansinger, please come in. Leadership.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and let me also thank the presenters, Anthony, Lily, and the rest of the team of the Western Cape Network on Disability. Just also to add that it was a very well prepared and a very professional submission. So thank you for that. Yes, thank you for highlighting all the important aspects which is important, and also thank you for making a study of a particular piece of legislation, the National Land Transport Act. You certainly highlighted important elements in specialized transport. Also, the issues and challenges around the services, and also highlighted particular barriers. And I just made a summary of those three basic elements that most certainly apply to the NLTA. It is, however, a bit more complex because we also sit with issues around addressing particular pieces of legislation around the different spheres of government who each have their own set of legislations and acts. And I'm just mentioning one, for instance, if we think about the particular challenges and barriers and service challenges and need for specialized transport around scholars, which is a separate piece of legislation. So you have certainly triggered the thinking around the whole scope and spectrum of legislation that need to be addressed, not just the NLTA, but most certainly in making NLTA the example, which is the most important and probably the overarching piece of legislation. So you've definitely highlighted that and placed emphasis on the right place. Chairperson, from my side, definitely thank you for the submission, thank you for the presentation, also for taking it up in the agenda. It is absolutely important and definitely something that we need to process in a very prioritized manner. So from my side, I can assure commitment for involvement and keen interest in processing following this petition that was tabled, and that we would deal with a full spectrum of content, not just what was highlighted here, but that we would need to open up the full scope of transport needs over the whole spectrum, and not just what was highlighted here. Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you to the presenters.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nsinga. Let me see if there's another hand I've not seen. Yeah, I'm going to allow you, Nokuthula and Anthony, and the whole team to respond if there is a point that you want to respond on briefly without going into detail, because we have now formally received your petition, and I'll then guide on what is going to happen from here. Nothukela?
Thank you, Chairperson. It is not Tugela like the Tugela River. Thank you so much, Dr. Hansinger. We are not legislators, but we felt it necessary to go through this route so that accessible design, universal design, and accessible transport can be realized within our lifetime. So thank you for appreciating our presentation. Also, I just need to extend a word of thanks to all the members who have voiced their support for the proposed amendments. It's good to know that we are on the right track and that the people who are in Parliament, who are meant to serve us, are also in support, in full support of our human rights, because disability rights are human rights. There was a question regarding the area that I had covered, which was the language around disability. And we proposed that the definition of disability must be expanded, not change, Honorable Member, but it needs to be inclusive of both physical and non-physical, apparent and non-apparent disabilities. And if we can change the definition, and then we will also start to see the reasonable accommodation be expanded. For instance, People with psychosocial disabilities have different requirements than persons who have physical disabilities. I think for the longest time, maybe even because we represent disability in every sign, persons with disabilities on a wheelchair are understood to be to define disability, but there are people who have non-apparent disabilities. You will never know that they have a disability. However, the law must still expand the definition to also accommodate them, because they also have different requirements for reasonable accommodation to be able to live a life of dignity and to be able to access mobility through public transport. I hope that answers your question, Honorable Member. Thank you.
Not together.
Yebo.
As in the river, not together.
Yebo.
She from Tugela River.
Yeah. Nah, I'm going, Honorable Member.
No, much appreciated. Ngisho ukuthi Nokutugela means she of the Tugela River.
Yes.
Okay. No, thanks very much, colleagues. I think what is going to happen now, what will happen is that we have now noted formally the petition. We are going to have to meet with the executive to formally put it to them that there is this issue. We recommended that there must be intervention. We'll have a discussion with them on how best we can deal with the matter, and in a short space of time, we'll debrief you, and then later on, we'll invite you in our discussion with the department so that we formally tell you what is going to happen with your petition. But once again, I must express my sincere appreciation for the work that you have done in raising this particular matter and tabling it before us. Much appreciated. Alma, we must thank them once again, and we can then release them and remain dealing with other aspects, but be assured them that in a short space of time, probably tomorrow, no, now that we are going on recess, as soon as we come back, you'll liaise with them and explain to them as to when we are going to be meeting with them again. This is the matter that we assist with. Honorable members have spoken mouthful. You are right, Honorable Kubeka. We are not seeming to be agreeing. We are overwhelmingly agreeing, all of us, that this is a very serious. It's a very serious omission that we must be the first to rectify. We can't continue to take a podium in Parliament and speak about inclusive and equal society, as Honorable Ghana, you are saying, without taking into cognizance this particular aspect, because then we'll be hypocrites. So we must take a charge, we must take a lead, and we must do it in that particular way. Honorable Malamata, as Honorable Onsinga have said. Thanks very much. Colleagues, compatriots, have a great day. You can release them, and then we take another program. Consideration of the adoption of the Amadiba community. The petition, I think here we just have to adopt the report. We can release them and then we'll table it. Thanks very much, colleagues. Any parting shot from any of you?
Chair.
Okay.
Thanks,
very
Chair.
much.
Just parting shots.
Yes, Anton.
So thank you very much. Just to say that we have disabilities. So some of us cannot hear. We need you to be our ears. Some of us can't see, but it doesn't mean we don't have vision. And then some of us can't walk. So we need you, our leaders, to walk the walk for us and to make sure that transport moving forward is accessible to everyone. And we thank you for the opportunity, and we look forward to walking the walk and getting on public transport with you and all our fellow South Africans. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Anton. Look, the fact of the matter is that you are because we are because you are. We are one, and the South Africa that we all have to build is South Africa that recognizes all of us. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Chair.
Can we move to the Amadiba report?
Alma, can you share the screen?
Yes, Chair, I will share the screen. I just want to check with members or just give members some feedback. Remember when we did the draft report last time, we gave opportunity for Sunrail and the petitioners to do comments on the report. Sunrail assisted us with clarifying some of the acronyms and abbreviations that they used, but for the most part, Sunrail agreed with the draft report. The picture is slightly different regarding the comments from the petitioners, Chair. So I hope that members went through those comments. If Chair wants me to go through the comments, because I can't change our report until members give us input regarding those comments from the petitioners, Chair. So just the way forward, I have the petitioners' comments. I can flight that as well if members just need a refresher. But I just need guidance on that so that I know which document to share on the screen, Chair.
So what do you want us to do, Alma?
Chair, in considering our final report, we just need to know what the members' view was on the submission made from the petitioners and the petitioners' input on that report. Because Chair said in the last engagement that the report will be shared with Sunrail and the petitioners for input before we do the adoption and consideration of the report, Chair.
Did you synthesize from your side the inputs from the petitioners and input from Sunrail to make our own recommendation? Isn't it?
Chair, some of the petitioners' recommendations are quite different to what the committee's report is proposing. That is why I will try and just flight both of them in one screen, and then members can just give me input on how I need to change, if I need to change the report. Then we can possibly consider it for adoption with amendments if needed. So let me just do the full
What I'm trying to
screen
say,
here.
Alma, is I want to make your life easier, is that I would assume members have went through those particular inputs. And then now that they've went through them from both Sunrail and from both Sunrail and from the petitioners, all what we can do now is to then go through our own recommendations based on what we would have worked with. And if members feel that we must amend something in line with either from inputs from Sunrail or inputs from petitioners, then they can do that. So that you don't take time going through the recommendations of petitioners, going through recommendation of inputs of Sunrail and all that. That's my suggestion.
Perfect, Chair. That's the guidance I needed.
Okay.
So members will see the that's our draft report that we submitted. The introduction just deals with our committee functions. We've got the background to the petition and the key points raised by the petition. This was taken from the petition itself and added to the document. So this I'm going through very quickly. The suggested recommendations from the petition was also taken from their petition document. Sunrail's response, we included there. That was the written response from Sunrail in the first instance. And that was based on that presentation that Sunrail did to the committee, Chair. The I and APs was just one of those clarifications we needed. So it's interested in affected parties. Yes, Chair, and then also just clarity that we needed, and we've got that because when the project was started, the Department of Environmental Affairs and Tourism was dealing with the environmental impact assessments, but since the departments have moved around, that's now changed to forestry and fisheries. So members will see in the recommendations, we don't necessarily refer to the Department of Environmental Affairs and Tourism. So that's just the one other clarity aspect that we sought. So the first proposed way forward, that was from the presentation. Remember, then after that, we had the facilitator session. And this is number 6, is the facilitator report from Ms. Nkopane that we've added in. This is both her report as well as the written presentations received from the petitioners as well as SANRAL. So 6.1 was taken word for word from the petitioner's submission. We've included those points in there. That's their proposed way forward. And then after this one, we have SANRAL's proposed way forward, word for word from their written submission in the facilitated session. And then after that, the recommendations that was proposed by the facilitator, and that was presented to the members in the last meeting. And the comments from that meeting we also included here in our report. And then out of that, Chair, considering both party submissions and what is workable or implementable from the committee side and what we can propose, Chair, we made the committee observations. Members would have seen them. So 7.1, in essence, that we can't always please everybody, but what is done must be done within the mandate, powers, and functions of the department as well as SANRAL. And some of the issues that fall outside of the mandate of the committee, like the illegal sand mining and ribbon development, can be forwarded to the other relevant parliamentary committees that deal with that. But SANRAL has indicated what they do in terms of those issues and how they support the prevention of those concerns. Then also, based on the presentations and what the committee received, SANRAL had the required environmental approvals before commencement with the project. And then SANRAL must ensure that their contractors continue to comply with those requirements. And then we also have our quarterly reports that we have requested SANRAL on this project in various different committee reports. So this is how we continue our oversight over the project. And then some clarity. And then here that there was an agreement between the petitioners and SANRAL regarding a midterm review or the format, in the format that was proposed by the petition. SANRAL indicated they would not be able to halt the project as requested, and that they would also not be able to move the route as it is currently an approved designed route that they are implementing. Then also that the death threats issue was also noted here, Chair, and that matter is taken seriously, and it must be reported to the relevant bodies to take care of that. So those are the observations, Chair, on the recommendations. 8.1. We have updated progress reports on the project. That falls within our existing oversight mandate, and we do that on a quarterly basis, requesting this from the department and SANRAL. So in addition to those quarterly reports, the committee can also require quarterly reports on the inland road projects linked to the N2 Wild Coast Road that would benefit the Amadiba community. Because SANRAL did indicate that they do have plans for some roads and roadworks that feed off of the main line. Then the committee also requests a focused and detailed report from SANRAL on the project from its inception to date. So in terms of this, we can require the information regarding the budget projections, the expenditure to date, and future budgeted amounts, so that we can look at the questions raised by the petitioners regarding the initial budget versus the expenditure, and do this until the estimated date of completion. Do consultations and community or information from SANRAL on consultations and community engagements on the project from the planning phase to date. They do that on a continuous basis. Details on which communities benefit from this project, as well as current and future planned socioeconomic development project linked to the Eastern Cape region affected by the project. Also get details on the environmental authorization and approvals obtained for the entire scope of the project, the risks and mitigating factors linked thereto, and what steps SANRAL can do or take to ensure that their contractors comply with those requirements, and the measures in place by SANRAL to prevent ribbon development within its road reserve, because that is the ballpark within which SANRAL can play there. And then the committee believes that these reports would be sufficient, and there's therefore no need to recommend an independent or multi-departmental review of this project at this point in time. 8.2 is on the IGR relations and the issues there, that there's a need to strengthen those relationships with the provincial and the local authorities to minimize duplication of the roles. SANRAL has indicated their willingness to engage and consult, so the committee urges them to continue to do so, because there was an indication that they were not participating with one of the municipalities on receiving and working on a memorandum that the petitioners presented to them. And then just to note there that it's not within the authority of the committee to interfere in a decision, except to indicate that the committee sees no reason why SANRAL would not participate in those types of engagements with the Premier or the municipalities. And it's also not SANRAL's obligation to call, host, or make arrangements for those meetings, because the memo was accepted there by the Premier's office. So that would be within the Premier and the relevant municipal authorities' powers to call those meetings, and SANRAL will attend, or is asked to attend by the committee. And then the petitioners are requested to raise their concerns regarding the illegal sand mining and possible land encroachment with the provincial and municipal structures. On the 8.3, the EIAs, we note their importance and that they are critical. There needs to be effective enforcement and monitoring of this, and this is where we indicate the work that's needed by the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, as well as SANRAL, because they are implementing agent as one of our entities. They must ensure that their contractors and subcontractors comply. And then here, the committee will forward the petitioner's concerns linked to these issues to the Minister of the Department of Forestry and Fisheries and Environment and alert that department to the concerns raised. The petitioners did provide a letter that the Department of Forestries and Fisheries are aware of some issues regarding the non-compliance with the environmental impact work that's needed, and that the relevant bodies have been notified to look into those matters. So our referral of this to that department will just support the petitioner's concerns. 8.4, the committee is not proposing a change in the planned route. That was based on the members' comments in the engagements. The multi-year project has already undergone massive expenditure from planning construction phases and continuous consultations and engagements, and it's also being monitored by Treasury as well as the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation. It's also under the radar of the Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Commission Council, and that the Committee of Public Works and Infrastructure is also looking at this project, and they also meet on issues with the bridges. The committees will continue to highlight the concerns raised by the communities in relation to SANRAL projects, and will continue to urge the entity to be prudent with its expenditure and compliance with the environmental standards. In 8.5, given the nature and scope of the project, as well as the various aspects highlighted by the petitioners, the committee will share the petition concerns specific to each sector linked to the project, and where the schedule allows, the committee can program joint meetings on that project with the committees on agriculture, cooperative governance and traditional affairs, forestry, fisheries, environment, human settlements, land reform and rural development, planning, monitoring and evaluation, public works and infrastructure, small business development, tourism, water and sanitation. So, Chair, that is for our future planning. These are the proposed recommendations. The observations come from the engagements that the committee has had, and the recommendations were also pulled out of the minutes and those engagements, Chair. So that is the draft report for input and feedback from members, consideration and adoption. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Alma. I think your recommendations are straightforward, and that's what I was saying. They've considered all the inputs from SANRAL, from the petitioners. That's what I wanted you to do, because I had read through them. And from my side, I'm happy with all your recommendations. Can I check if there is anything? Honorable Ghana. Honorable Ghana.
Thanks very much, Chair. So I will more, let's say, the recommendation side of yours, they are quite weighty, which is fine. But I would like to break 8.4. What is important, it's around the, let's call it a focused audit in terms of the contract management and expenses. So if you look at how 8.4 is worded, the last part of 8.4.
Project it there, Alma. Project it there. Sorry for interrupting your thought process, Ghana.
Yeah.
Project it there. Let's see.
8.4, the last section says. So if you read the last section, it says the committee will continue to highlight concerns raised by communities in relation to the SANRAL project, and will continue to urge the entity to be prudent with its expenditure, comply with and so forth. So what I want us to add, Chair, it's recommendation 8.6 that urges the Auditor General to audit the project thus far in terms of expenditure and contract management, and they then report to the committee. So the next time when SANRAL appears to present their audit, or the AG comes and present their audit report for SANRAL, there be a specific focus on this particular project, because it you see, like those two bridges, there are a lot of allegations that goes in that. So I think there needs to be a focused audit of the project thus far, because if we are to achieve what we are saying in terms of 8.4, that SANRAL is prudent and so forth, it is through the help of the AG auditing that particular project that's going to help. So why am I saying this, Chair? I'm saying this so that we avoid 2 years down the line to have the SIU being asked to come and do this particular work. So if we can do an ongoing review and audit of the project, it will help us greatly. So that's what I wanted to propose there, so that we can start getting to see where's the money going, and is it spent on what it's going to, so that it does not lead to the what do you call them, cost overruns. So every year it might end up, we don't want to end up with another Medupi with this particular project, Chair. That's why I want a standalone recommendation in terms of the Auditor General. And if there was to be any review, the competent, so I think 8.2 captures correctly that you don't want multi-committees to do a review of the project. No. I think is it 8.2 or it's but somewhere there it's captured to say that you and which is correct, that you don't want multiple committees doing a review, but what you want, it's a competent authority, and that's the Auditor General, to do this particular work and be able to report to the committee the next time SANRAL comes before the committee. So our commitment, or my commitment, is that when SANRAL appears before the committee, and I think we are going to have that committee program, we need to be able to ask them to give a status update of this particular project. So we must watch it with a hawk's eye. Thanks very much, Chair.
No, thanks very much, Honorable Gan. I think what must happen, you are right, because this is one of the mega project with so much money in it. We must put it on our radar. So Alma, I see you are trying to summarize as Honorable Ghana is speaking. It will give you enough time to just rephrase how you can project it in line with the spirit of what Honorable Ghana is saying. Don't stress. I see you are fighting with your thought on how to phrase it. The issue is you must capture the spirit of what Honorable Ghana is saying, that this project is a project that we must direct a specific Auditor General audit on it, so that we do not, at the end of a project, we get a situation like he's correctly saying, what we have seen in Kusile and what we have seen in Medupi, where when the project is supposed to end, we are told that you need almost an equal amount of money that you started with for the project to be completed, something like that. We don't need something like that. So I think let's note it in that particular way. And then, can I get a mover? Honorable Ghana, with that, you are moving, right?
I will move, but I see Malimaja, his hand is up. So you might want
Honorable
another
Malmacha.
edition.
Honorable Malmacha, you want to say something?
Yes, let's go to point number 14 there.
Let's go to 14, Alma.
Is very for the special note to please everybody. As I second the move by I disagree that
Chair, I just want clarity. 6.1.14 was a way forward from the petitioners. So I'm not sure which point.
No, it's fine. As I second the move by Honorable Ghana, I'm fine, Chair. I saw what I wanted to be clarified.
I know. Before you second, I know where you wanted to go. If I read what we are reading, but maybe it's fine. Let's second the move. The Honorable Ghana is moved. You are seconding. The report is adopted, and then it will then forward it to the department, and will forward it to the petitioners so that they know our standpoint. To the best of our understanding, this matter is fully exhausted. We are not going to be entertaining it from any corner anymore. It's closed. What we'll have to do, we'll follow on our own recommendation. Thanks very much. Next report.
Chair, just give me some time. I have a lot of tabs open here, so I just need
No problem. Take your time.
Close a few things here. Okay, our next one is going to be the third quarter expenditure, Chair. Where we at? There we at.
Chair, on behalf of petitioners, I would just like to thank the Portfolio Committee for their consideration and the time they spent on this petition, on considering the petition. It is greatly appreciated. We haven't looked in detail at the recommendations, but we are pleased that there is going to be stronger oversight in terms of what we have recommended in the petition. And we hope that there will be transparency as far as this is concerned, so that we can ensure that our concerns are being addressed on a consistent basis. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, Chair, on screen now is our third quarter expenditure report. We had this presentation earlier this term. So we had that on the 24th of February.
Go straight to recommendations.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Because all of this other information you would have seen in our research report and in the presentation by the department. So the observations, Chair, that was just pulled out of our minutes, which we have done, sent to the members. Okay, the recommendations, Chair. There were concerns on there only be implementation of 50% of the training plans. Then reasons why 30% of Operation Pakisha projects were unfinished is needed. A comprehensive report on reasons why it was taking so long to finalize disciplinary process of suspended officials. Sorry, Chair, this should be processes. Suspended officials and its entities. Then more information was requested on the number of directors or CEOs and CFOs who were on paid suspension, how long they've been suspended and what salaries are paid to them during the suspensions. And then there was also a report requested from Sunroll on the South Africa to Lesotho Road. The department should indicate when the committee can expect the tabling of the bills outlined in the report and targeted for tabling in the 25-26 financial year, as indicated in the strategic plan, because that year ends today. So they have some delays in the ones that they had planned, but they will be reporting in terms of that on how far they are with their cabinet processes. And then 4.3, the department should provide detailed quarterly progress reports on the progress of the construction of the Mthentu and Masikaba bridges, as per the recommendations of the committee's oversight report on the N2 Wild Coast project. So, Chair, that was for the third quarter expenditure. That is the report for consideration and adoption.
Alma? You done?
Yes, Chair, very short because I only focused there at the last bit.
Yeah, straightforward. Honorable members, any addition, subtraction, mover, adoption, on?
Yeah, if permitted, I stand to move for the adoption of this report. Is what we know is straightforward.
Mover, seconder. Glose Ghana.
A second, Chair.
Honorable Kopan. I see your hand.
Chair, I just wanted to second the move by Honorable Malimachi.
Oh, thanks very much. Oh, thanks. I thought you wanted to raise something. Thanks very much, Honorable Kopani. Thanks very much. And we must thank you, by the way, for the work you have done on that, what you call. I thought you are still not here. We were going to thank you formally. I did not see that you are on the platform, but we must thank you on the work that you have done on the petition. We'll formally write a letter to you to thank you for that.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. It's my honor.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, the last item, the draft committee program for second quarter.
Yes, Chair. Second to last, we have a lot of minutes that we must adopt because we're falling behind. So, Chair, the second term program, we had the discussion in Manco just to try and look at the oversight week. And I know this is normally Valerie's thing, but her audio is not working on her laptop, so I'm trying to stand in as best as I can for her. But Chair and members, just to note that we have an oversight week coming up, 21 to 24 April, but based on the information we've seen on the NCOP program, that might be reduced from 4 days to 2 days. We're just waiting for the NA program to be sent to us and to look at this. The suggestion is to do a focus on ports and rail, and for in terms of the ports that we haven't seen, and then link that up with PRASA's general overall project, because we had that request in the meeting last week when PRASA presented that the committee does oversight there. If we have 4 days, it would be ideal for us to then visit both the PRASA geo depots in the Eastern Cape as well as Gauteng. If we do we are able to go to the Eastern Cape, then we can visit the ports that's managed by Transnet National Ports Authority there in PE and East London, and do the PRASA visits at the geo depots as well. If we only have 2 days, then we are limited to only focusing on the PRASA geo depots that are in Gauteng. It's much easier to get and secure our flights for logistics over the 2 days in Gauteng. It's just we might have trouble doing a visit to the Eastern Cape if we only have 2 days for oversight. So, Chair, that is just on the possible oversight planning that we have there. We're just waiting for the NA program, then we can streamline the proposed oversight. Chair, just also for 2 days, there are a few more. There's more than one depot in Gauteng in terms of depots and storage facilities as well as workshops. So if we focus on Gauteng only for 2 days, we can split it up. We can get a bit more seen over there. But if we have the 4 days, again, yeah, we can add the Eastern Cape ones. Then on the 28th of April is when we will just get a quick briefing there from the Minister and the RTMC on the Easter road safety statistics. And then we start our engagements with the department and the entities on their APPs and strategic plans. The department has already started tabling these documents from last week, and they are coming in every day. We even have our new entity, Transport Economic Regulator. They've also submitted a strat plan and APP for that. But Chair, because we have very limited time and the department's debate on the budget is scheduled for the 12th of May, we really only have that week and the full day on the 28th to look at that. So the proposal there, the department is generally accepted to just include their DLCA in their presentation. And then we also adding PRASA Road Accident Fund and SANRAL. That is the proposal. If we can get a virtual meeting later in the week, in that same week, we would suggest considering SAMSA as a primary request. And then after SAMSA, if we can get more time or more meetings to look at our aviation entities and including them, especially considering that we are facing quite a bit of jet fuel shortages coming up from about the end of April based on international reports. So those are the proposals that we've worked in there. Wednesday, the 29th, is where Valerie's added this additional request that we will do. It's subject to political approval to meet with SAMSA. And if we can only do one entity over that time, yeah, it's 2.5 hours is normally what we spend per entity. So we'll just have to get feedback there from members on that. Tuesday the 5th is when we would have to adopt our budget report. And then we've also had a document presented to us by the Commission on Gender Equality regarding the experiences and working conditions of female farm workers. The second part, which is 2025, they did one report in 24, and this is the one on 2025, with a focus on the difficulties with access to transport. So we've already done the prep notes for this. It was it's been ATC to us in July 2025, so we do need to work this into our program. And then we have it phrased in this way, the consideration of the report on the petition, but this one will not be the report on the petition. We will be changing this to the meeting with the department to give their briefing on the petition proposals that we've received this morning. Then the 12th of May, again, because of the budget vote debate, there's no meeting. On the 19th, we are proposing our committee's strategic review and annual performance planning session so that we can finalize the committee's APP for 26-27. Then the 26th of May, and this will also again depend on feedback we receive from Treasury, but they did indicate that they would like this meeting to be moved. And we believe this is more than enough time for them. So that would be the briefing from the Department and Treasury on the PTNG grant, the winding down of that grant. Then we will consider our oversight reports, which will be the one that we're planning to undertake at the end of that week of the 21st in April. Then the committee's annual report. It's our very own annual report that we do to indicate our progress. Then the 2nd of June, we have moved that meeting that we've scheduled. We're going to have in the past 2 weeks the meeting on the AG with SAA on their annual report. And then the 9th of June, we get the fourth quarter expenditure from the department. 16th of June is public holiday, so no meeting there. And the last meeting is going to be very short, is June 23. We are suggesting a meeting and on a presentation by the SIU on progress with the various investigations that they have undertaken linked to the transport entities. So SIU has PRASA, Road Accident Fund, Transnet, RTMC, and SAA that they are looking at investigating. But other than our entities, they also have other transport bodies, the Greater North Transport in Limpopo, the provincial and local driver license testing centers, the KZN Department of Transport, Northwest Department of Community Safety and Transport, and the Free State Department of Community Safety, Roads and Transport. So this will also allow us to feedback into a report that's been requested from Parliament itself on how the committee is dealing with the recommendations that have emanated from the state capture report. Then we can also consider the adoption of the committee's report on the department's fourth quarter expenditure and our draft third term program. So, Chair, that is the second term program. And then when we get to, once we're done with the minutes, Chair, I have my other document available and ready just to take members to suggestions for possible study tour. We have very limited time available this year. So, Chair, thank you. That's the program on behalf of Valerie.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Anyone who wants to input, Honorable Ghana? Input, yeah. And if you are comfortable, even move after inputting.
No, you have to agree, Chair. So the first thing is that on the 21st, let me say the 21st of April, the sitting starts at 2. I then propose that we deal with SAA the morning of the 21st, because the sitting starts at 2. So must not lose a day, and you'll see where I'm going with this, Chair. So on the 21st, I propose that we deal with SAA. We close that so that once we get into the annual performance plans, we know that there's no audit or anything from the previous financial year that we need to deal with. We should not deal with the APPs for some entities, and then later on, late in June, start dealing with SAA. I propose that on the 21st of April, we deal with SAA in the morning. The sitting is only scheduled to start at 2 o'clock. And I don't know, because the discussion that happened at the Chief Whips Forum and programming was more biased towards some committee work rather than oversight on the 22nd. But if there's been a change, one takes that. So because on the 21st we'll definitely be in Cape Town. It's a division of revenue and a special appropriation bill. So the only if you are to do any oversight, you can only do it from the afternoon of the 22nd and the 23rd. So which almost gives Gauteng if there is that. Then on the day that we had scheduled SAA, I think it's on the 9th of June. On the 9th of June or the 2nd of June, let's bring back Transnet. So what because we are not going to consider Transnet on the 28th when we are dealing with entities. I will add Transnet there. One of the things that I had articulated, Chair, when we're dealing with the committee plan, is that the big entities. So we already will be discussing with SAA on the 21st if my proposal is accepted. Then when we deal with the APPs, we have to deal with Transnet. With Transnet on the APPs of the 28th. So Transnet has to be there. So Transnet, PRASA, Sanral, and RAV, these are the ones that we said these ones are key. We must at all times include when we are dealing, so that people know that we are serious about this particular entities. Because if you get these four going, PRASA, Transnet, Sanral, and to a lesser extent SAA, but SAA will have dealt with on the 21st, then you have a realistic chance of getting the economy going. So what I want on the 2nd of June is to go back to this as a proposal, a progress report for Transnet on the I don't want to call it the private rail operators. There were questions that we had asked the last time we spoke around just the status, the road. Let's call it the road to rail rather than, but that includes the private railway operators. The status update on the road to rail strategy. So it might include someone in charge of road freight and so forth. This is emanating from, Chair, as you know, some of the input that came out of the transport conference on this particular aspect. So I'd like for us to deal with it. So that's my proposal. If my proposal is accepted, Chair, I will have no difficulty moving that we deal with SAA as quickly as possible, and then after we deal with the APPs, and then after we then start going into some of these entities, especially Transnet, because if we go to PRASA on the 23rd, 22nd, and 23rd, then we'll have dealt with PRASA. Then in June, after our budget budget debate, we then go back to dealing with Transnet. I submit, Chair.
Look, I think your proposal is strategic, especially with the bit of insight. When we had this day, and colleagues will remember that we struggled on where can we put South African Airways, but now because of the insight and what also was a problem, we thought that day of the 21st is going to be the full day of dealing with the appropriations. Now that we have a bit of insight with taking advantage of your presence here, then we can then agree with you that we must bring SAA so that they can come and give us about the outcome of the previous year, because it's never good to go and meet them in June anyway, because we'll be far. So I think we can bring them closer. That's the spirit, and then we can also because we agreed, and I'm happy that you are citing our agreements, that we agreed that we must put an eye on Transnet. So we'll then have to bring Transnet on that particular date. Alma, you'll work on the logistics, and if any change in terms of programming is to happen, we'll obviously get that particular brief. But for as it stands, I think let's put it Kaleo Klobo, and then let's get a seconder for the mover and adopt. Seconder.
I second, Chair.
Honorable Malmata, second. The program of the committee is duly adopted for the second term. Thanks very much. Alma, brand minutes and take them as read.
Thank you,
How
Chair.
many sets of minutes?
Oh, it's quite a few, so Chair must just indulge me on the slowness. While I try and pull it up, I'm just going to remind members for Transnet and SAA, they are not legally obliged to table their APPs and strategic plans, and they often do not because of concerns about the competition in the markets, but that doesn't stop the committee from requiring or requesting them to do so. So we'll just need to find a way on how we can put that in the letter. Then the minutes.
Be assured, we'll deal with that. We'll deal with on how we phrase it such that it doesn't expose them to their own competitors, but we'll find a way of how to deal with it. But the essence is we need to continuously monitor them continually.
Yes. So, Chair, the first set of minutes we have there is that the 24th. That was the third quarter expenditure. We've just adopted the report today. So members have already seen the content, but that's just a reminder of the apologies. What's there was Ms. Kobe. Introduction, that's the observations that we have in the report. Adopted our other minutes there. The other matters was just the transport conference and then some of the delays on the ASIP and TEC interviews and the adjournment, Chair. So that was the minutes for the 24th of February.
Straightforward, move one. Those who were in the meeting.
Chair, I was in the meeting as them to move for the adoption of this meeting, this minutes.
Thanks, Honorable Malmata. Second.
I second, Chair.
Were you in the meeting, Honorable Ghana? That's on a lighter note. I know you don't miss the meetings. Thanks very much. Sets adopted. Next set of minutes.
Yes, Chair, just trying to find it here. Where's my minutes now? Just let me close a few things, Chair. Because the next one is going to be the 26th of February. I know I opened it earlier. 26 was our first session on the ASIP interviews. Let's see if the share will work with me now. The report on these minutes, the minutes of the 26th and the 27th, Chair. So again, this should be quite quick. These are members that were present for the interviews. Just outlines the interview process or the list of interviewees that we saw on the day. So these minutes are very short, Chair. So that's the 26th of February.
It's for the interviews.
Yes, the first day of ASIP interviews, Chair.
Move one. Quebec. Move. You can move, Ghana. No one need to.
Well, is there a quorum in the room? I move.
A second, Chair.
The quorum is there, but I don't know about what we call involvement. But colleagues are all here. Are still here. Thanks very much. Set of minutes adopted. Next set.
Yes, Chair. The 27th is also the same format. It's our second day of ASIP interviews, nice and short. The same members were present.
Move
Just
one.
list of the interviewees, and then also that was the scores
Are
after.
they supposed to be on the minutes discourse? Are they necessary?
Chair, these ones I can take out. I just added it there for the members to see because we agreed to use your scores.
Okay.
But we have the list of preference, and then members will see in the other minutes where we, based on the report, members just said that we're not sending the full list. This is just the sequence of how the candidates were scored.
Yes. Okay. Can I get a move? Mover.
I move, Chair.
Mover, Ghana. Seconder.
Second, Chair.
Thank you very much. Next set.
Okay. Let me just close this one, Chair. Next one is the 5th of March, which would be the TEC interviews. All-male crew that were present for the TEC interviews. The introduction, the list of the people we interviewed on day one, and then the adjournment, Chair. So that is the minutes of the 5th of March.
Mover.
Happy with the minutes, I move.
Can I move?
Second, Chair.
Parliamentary again. Thank you very much. Next set of minutes.
Our next one is day 2 of the TEC interviews on the 6th of March. Short. Same members were present. Just to show the candidates we saw on that day, marathon session, and the adjournment there, Chair. That's the 6th.
Mover. Mover one.
Second.
You must move. You must not second move. You must move.
I heard the stream. I thought, is that the routine of Ghana?
No. Move. Ghana will second.
No, I move, Chair.
Thanks very much. Honorable Ghana.
I'll second. Where's Bloss and Kubek?
Yeah, I don't know where these comrades, eh? I think they left their gadgets. We are just alone here. Last set of minutes. Is it last this is the last set of minutes, right?
Second
Does
to
it come in,
last.
Alma?
Second to last. Chair.
Which one is this?
This is the 10th of March. This was when we met with Transnet.
Oh, okay.
And then we considered the ASIP.
Then we're gonna take Prasa.
Yes, the 24th will be the Prasa one, Chair. So this is the Transnet one. The introduction, Transnet's presentation. And then the consideration of the ASIP report and the minutes that stood over, and then the adjournment, Chair. So that is the minutes of the 10th of March.
Mover.
Happy with the minutes, Chair. I'll move so that Maluma just say does what he does best and second.
I'll second.
Honorable Malmacha,
I'll
second.
second.
Thanks very much, Honorable Ghana, Honorable Malmacha. Last set of minutes. Where's Bloss? Honorable Bloss? Fighter Bloss? Where's Quebec? Yeah, let's
I'm
here, Chair. I'm here, Chair.
Mankopa.
Yeah. And where's Honorable Kopan? The minutes with the last week meeting with Prasa.
Yes, Jay, 24 March, that's our meeting with Prasa. And we gave that input on the TEC. So, Chair, we'll see all the members present there from Prasa.
All there.
The introduction, process presentation, and the members' deliberations, questions that they had there, clarity that they sought, the information that was requested. And then the TEC issues, we indicated there, that state security report issue. We also brought up the concerns about the ASIP report, then the adjournment, Chair. That's the last set of minutes, then will be caught up, Chair.
Oh, thank you very much. Honorable Kubeka, can you move?
I moved, Chair. It's Vilagazi.
Honorable Vilagazi,
I was there for this one.
Thank you very much, Honorable Vilagazi. Honorable Kubeka, can you second?
Was Kubeka in the meeting?
Was I in the meeting?
Mr. Kubeka was not in that meeting, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Who seconded?
It should be Ghana. Ghana, you always second this one.
So who's seconding now?
I'll second. I second, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All anything on the agenda?
Chair, just what I just wanted to show members on other matters, because of the concerns we had with our study group, our study tour that we planned for April, which has fallen by the wayside because of the war. I've looked into the other options. One option in Africa would have been Morocco, Chair. Unfortunately, they also have their elections in September, so we might not be able to do a study tour to Morocco, but in terms of the African view on both rail as well as ports, Morocco would be ideal for us to plan a study tour to. Chair, and because of that issue, they having their elections in September. The other option I looked at was our international option, And the option there for our rail and ports, if you look at the top ports and top rail infrastructures, is within China. So, Chair, the option there, just given some of the cities with their biggest ports, as well as rail services. So, Chair, that is just for us so that we can see where we can plan it. Their sessions work a bit differently to our parliamentary sessions. But they are active. They don't have electoral difficulties coming up in this year. So if we can do or plan for study tour there, Chair, we just need to see from members on availability. The best proposed time would be early in June before it gets too hot. And members have indicated that September would be too late for our members as well because of the local government elections coming up at the end of our year. So, Chair, we just need some input from members so that we can plan for something for this year. If this year falls by the wayside, Chair, next year's options again, UITP Summit, June, July in Germany, or we can look at Morocco for next year, or we can look at China if we are not able to get members' availability for this year for a study tour. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Members, do you want to say something? I would suggest that Alma, you do the completion first of this before we discuss it. You all other things that you said you'll verify first.
Chair, I've done the top fives both in Africa and internationally, so I've looked at that. That's why I've indicated Morocco would have been the top one because they have the first high-speed rail in Africa that goes over 200 kilometers an hour. We've got Gautrain that started in 2010, but it's not necessarily under the definition of high-speed rail that goes over 200 kilometers. So, Chair, the other ones that we have that's in the top five is Egypt, but close to the conflict at the moment. And the other ones are also Senegal and Nairobi. The ones that are closer to us, like Madagascar and Mozambique, there's also other issues and concerns over there, and some of their rail operations are mainly freight, not passenger linked. So that's why Morocco was the top proposal for Africa. And in terms of international, China was the top one there, Chair. So I've already done that comparative study.
The East Africa port, the port in East Africa?
Chair, I can look at that. I correlated it between ports and rail together in terms of the top performers. But that's why Morocco came out on top. But yeah, because of the elections, they were pushed out. But I can look into other options, but it will probably then be rather port focused than rail and ports, Chair.
What is that port in? Is it is it Dar es Salaam?
Dar es Salaam was another option, Chair. But that's with a port focus.
Okay. No, it's fine. Honorable members, you want to say something?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Malmacha.
Thank you. I think the issue of Dar es Salaam can be an ideal because you will remember that after we never anticipate what is happening, we can't just leave everything like that. One will suggest that let's opt for it. Thank you.
Okay. Alma, let's do this. Let's also check Dar es Salaam and then and scale them down because now you have isolated all those things. When we meet, when we come back, let's just have two possibles that we can look into when you have done your cleaning on all of them, so that we can just recommend to Dar es Salaam. And Dar es Salaam is only port. The problem is that we don't have rail into the port in Dar es Salaam. Ne? Is that the limitation?
Chair, they do have standard gauge links, lines, and their focus on their lines there is to link East and African economies. But Chair, on rail in Africa, South Africa's rail is listed as the top in all categories, both being most efficient and the longest. So
Okay.
for Africa, we are the ones they should come to learn from rail issues. But in terms of
Yeah.
ports as well, Chair, our ports are actually doing better than in terms of the performance that we get. We've got the largest ports as well. But Dar es Salaam is number 6 in Africa, for example. Durban and Cape Town is 1 and 2. So that's just considering
Yeah,
that.
then
I'll look at the Tanzanian parliament and the availability.
No, it's fine. But then it means when we come back to discuss and do a finality, I don't want us to do a finality now. When we come back, let's remain now with 2 and internationally 2 Africa, even if it's 2 or 1 is fine. Is that fine?
Will do, Chair.
Thanks very much. Am I done now? Are we done now?
That is everything on the agenda, and from my side, Chair, I don't know if there's any other matters.
Now that there is no any other matter, colleagues, compatriots, friends, countrymen and women, as we conclude this meeting today, like I said when I opened, this marks the end of a very industrious term that we had, the first term from January. We opened early this year, more than any other year. I want to really once again commend you for your commitment. I must commend our team, our support team. You worked tirelessly and very hard. I must also commend members. Remember, for the first time, we had interviews that appointed 2 boards, even if we have not yet finalized, but it was a very difficult job. You had to spare your time, you had to juggle your political responsibility, but availed yourself for the people of South Africa. To that, I want to commend all of you for the role that you played in this term. I want to take this moment to say, 1, as you'll be aware, we are getting to a high traffic now from tomorrow. Those members who may want to participate everywhere in terms of roadblocks that are there and all that, I have spoken to the ministry and I've also requested them to speak to all provincial MECs and also the metros who are participating in this and that. From time to time, if you want to do an oversight in any of the roadblocks that is currently happening in the country, wherever you are, from wherever you are in the country, you need to liaise. We'll communicate on how you liaise so that our presence, even during this difficult time, is there. But overall, I want those of you who are going to pilgrimages in the country and out of the country. I know others will be going to pilgrimages in Botswana, Namibia, and in the region. Others will also be going outside the country. I wish you the best of luck in your pilgrimages. Those of you will also be going to festivities in whatever form, all the best, and enjoy with your families. Those will be on holidays with families who are retreating to the villages and who are retreating to high cities. All the best in your travels. Be safe and come back even more energized so that we can continue to make transport work for the people of South Africa. For when transport works, we move the people, and when we move the people, we move freight, we move economy, we make South Africa win. South Africa will win, and it will win because of our commitment and contribution. Thanks very much. This meeting is officially closed. Enjoy Easter holidays. Thanks very much. Until we meet again on the day that the Lord would have made for all of us. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chair.
Long live. Amanda, way too.